As you work on your resume, it can be difficult to find the words to describe your work experiences in ways that are relevant to the jobs that you're applying for. This is particularly difficult if you haven't held a professional position before or if you're changing fields. So I want to share with you a great tool for identifying relative skills and competencies in a way that you can use them on your resume. ONET Online is a website hosted by the U.S. Department of Labor and gathers information from job postings, websites, and companies all over the country. So the URL is onetonline.org. ONET allows you to conduct an occupation quick search, and you can do that either from this bar up at the top or in the center here where the key is. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to search on retail sales, which is a common position for students who have worked through high school and college, and is something that we see on resumes quite often. So when I search on retail sales, it's going to return the top 20 occupations for retail sales. So there's actually 206 relevant occupations, but it's the most relevant top 20 that they share. So I'm going to come over here to retail salesperson and click on it. And what I'm going to see is a summary report for retail sales. And that report is going to get into things like tasks, technology skills, the knowledge and skills and abilities that you need to be able to do the job. And it even gets into things like work context, in other words, the things that you do on a day-to-day basis, and even look at things like the education or the credentials that you might need and the work styles, work values that people who do this position tend to display. And down at the bottom are wage and employment trends. So let's take a look at how you can use ONET to help you as you're working on your resume. So we are encouraging you to steer away from just listing tasks that you did in your last job, like placing special orders or exchanging merchandise for customers. Those are things that you did on a day-to-day basis. Instead, what we really encourage you to look at is the skills and competencies that cross all kinds of jobs. So as an example, if we go to skills here and expand it, it shows there's 11 and it's showing me 5, but if I click the plus, it'll expand it. So things like listening and coordination and critical thinking and time management. This is the language that employers are looking for, things that you could do no matter where you do them. And also things that are relevant across different roles in terms of the activities that you might do. So taking a look at the work activities, so again there's 24 different work activities that they've listed for retail sales. But as you look at these, you will start to identify things that you did beyond just selling to customers. For example, did you train or teach others? So developing training programs, teaching or instructing others, you can see how that would have value in any kind of role. And interestingly enough, if you're still trying to identify your career path, if you click on these pluses, it's going to show you related occupations for those kinds of activities. It may give you some ideas of things that you might enjoy. So also things like thinking creatively. So in this retail sales opportunity, did you perhaps come up with some ideas for selling or marketing some of the products? Because again, you can see the value for this across different roles. So looking at these will give you ideas on what you can include in your resume, especially selecting those things that are relevant for the job that you want to apply for. So for example, if you're interested in a job in marketing, you could focus on things like selling or influencing others, working with customers, or good communication skills. If you're in finance or accounting, you would want to select accomplishments that showed off your ability to process data or to bring structure or procedures to a role. You'll need to rewrite these, of course. You wouldn't cut and paste them. You need them to be specific to the job that you did, and it needs to be in the language that is consistent with your branding and your messaging, because of course to just cut and paste would the language is very formal, and that's not going to be authentic in your resume. So very important to rewrite those. So let's look at another way to use ONET. So this is for positions that you may have done in the past. Now let's look at some positions that you might be interested in. So say you want an accounting internship. If you do an occupation search on accounting, and obviously there's lots of different roles here, I'm going to pick the more generic one for accountant. You're going to start to see the work activities that you may have in common. So if you recall, we looked at thinking creatively. Here it is, important for accountants as well. And things like communication, establishing interpersonal relationships. So you will start to see the things that are relevant that you've already done, and it can help you identify those things that you're good at that are important to the potential job that you would like to get. Another way that you can use it is I'm going to go up here to technology skills and expand it. So here's a list of all the different kinds of technology that accountants might use. So you could see if there's any programs or applications that you could learn to increase your marketability for this kind of role. So it can be very useful from that perspective too. Now, when you finally reach the point where you're expecting job offers, you can also use ONET to get salary information. By scrolling all the way down to the bottom, you're going to reach the section of wages and employment trends. So here's the median wage, the average wage for the United States for 2017. So for accounting, $69,350. But we want to see some state wages. So by clicking this local salary info and selecting from the drop-down list, maybe you're relocating, all states are available there. I'm going to go to the Texas information at Career One Stop. So here's the yearly wages for accountants and auditors in Texas. So it shows low, median, and high. Red is Texas and blue is the United States average. So great news is that Texas actually has higher yearly wages for these fields. But we can also drill down even more by going and checking out San Antonio, Texas. So when I search, it's now going to bring up a table that shows me the United States averages, the Texas averages, and the local averages for us. So where Texas might be higher, 71 is the median, 69 here in San Antonio. Of course, lower cost of living in San Antonio than Dallas or Houston. So this will give you the additional information that you need to start to put together your research as you're deciding how to respond to an offer. So I think you'll find ONET very valuable, both as you create your master resume and as you customize it for different jobs. And I recommend that you take some time looking at positions that are of interest to you and clicking around the ONET site, because it can give you some more information about these fields and maybe help you shape your career path. So thanks for watching, and good luck with your resume and your job search.